Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a fantastic show for you today to kick off this exciting election week, and so happy to have Batya Ungar-Sargon with us. Good morning, Batya.
Good morning, Robby.
Are you adjusting to the time change? I hate the time change, but I have to say this year, I finally feel rested. I went to bed earlier, I woke up earlier, even though I hate that it gets dark so early. But
Good for you. I'm a morning person, and so I like this time of year because, for the last 3 months, one wakes up and it's dark out for an hour before things become normal, so I'm very into it.
All right. Well, we've got lots to get to today. Why don't you kick us off?
Yes, we do. Presidents Obama, Trump, and Biden all touched down in the Keystone State this weekend. We'll get into the hotly contested races there. Plus, Amisha Cross will join us later, and we'll discuss Democrats' final push to get young voters to the polls. But first, former President Trump is closer than ever to announcing his comeback bid. Axios reports that Trump's inner circle is eyeing November 14th as a potential campaign launch date. The Don himself had this to say during a rally in Iowa last Thursday night.
In order to make our country successful and safe and glorious, I will very, very, very probably do it again, okay? Very, very, very probably. Very, very, very probably.
Though no official 2024 announcements have been made as of yet, it seems the gloves are already coming off. Trump took this jab at potential primary challenger Ron DeSantis while in Pennsylvania over the weekend.
Party for the nomination like nobody's ever seen before. Let's see, there it is. Trump at 71, Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%, Mike Pence at 7. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought.
Both Trump and Governor DeSantis held competing rallies in the Sunshine State last night. Neither made mention of the other. So Ron DeSanctimonious, I don't know, Batya, is that gonna get the job done? I like that he's clearly trying that out the way he said it. Let's see if this lands. So that was interesting. Look, we are going to get. It's just going to happen. There's going to be, I predict, a big battle for the nomination between Trump and DeSantis. There's no way DeSantis doesn't go for it. He'd be a fool not to go for it. This is his time. The stars are aligning for him. He has a success story in Florida to talk about. He has conservative media completely behind him, and he seems to have a lot of support among the base. Will it be enough? I don't know, but he should not. He should seize this opportunity, and I don't think Trump's going to let him have it. But there's no way they come to some arrangement and don't have this battle. They're going to have this battle. What do you think?
Yeah, we've seen this coming a mile away, right? And I, for one, am very excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But the thing is what you're pitting in DeSantis v. Trump is really, I think, much more question of style than substance, right? You have Trump, who's extremely charismatic, extremely problematic, and has this legacy that he seems intent on destroying with his obsession with having, lost, which he can't admit, in 2020. And then you have Ron DeSantis, who is, he's so precise. He's so laser focused on being effective and being competent. And to me, it's sort of like when I talk to people who are very, very, very pro-Trump, they really like DeSantis. They see in him somebody who is effective at carrying out a very similar type of agenda that Trump carried out, but they also feel very grateful to Trump and that they sort of owe him. And so what I hear over and over is I really hope he doesn't run so I can back DeSantis. But if he does, I will probably feel that I have to say, nice things about Trump, be on Trump's side. Now, I think a lot of Democrats, I've been saying this for a long time, I think a lot of Democrats would vote for Ron DeSantis. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the primary, because in a general election, you look at what he's doing in Florida, and he's ruling with a mandate. He gets so much support even from Democrats for a lot of things that, the elite media wants us to believe has no support from the left, but it's just not true. So I for one, am excited to see this brawl happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's no question. I don't think anyone contests that DeSantis would be a stronger general election candidate than Trump, and that it's a personality-based thing in a lot of ways, because on policy there probably isn't a tremendous amount of difference between them. Of course, we don't fully know what DeSantis's policies, I think, might be on, for instance, foreign policy, things like that. Right. And just because as a state governor, he hasn't really been tested on those things or called very often to weigh in on them. So, I would like to hear more, for instance, about what he thinks about. He does talk about China probably somewhat, but what he thinks about Ukraine, aid for Ukraine and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's largely a stylistic clash, and he just doesn't have some of the baggage that Trump has, largely because of the election stuff, and that Trump just happens to be a much more divisive figure, whereby he's really, 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 really liked by an element of the Republican base, and then just kind of widely despised. You don't have. You have some crossover voters for him, some, kind of Bernie Union Dems, obviously in Pennsylvania and Michigan, helped him a lot in 2016. So I don't want to say he has no crossover appeal, but he clearly, he also he has that appeal, but then he also hemorrhages so many, independent, suburbanite white women, et cetera, who might vote for a Republican because of crime or school policies or the economy, but will not vote for Trump because they just find him detestable. And I think DeSantis can probably, in a general, get more of those people than Trump for sure. But we have to have a primary first, and that will be very interesting.
Right. And I think another piece of the puzzle is, Democrats love to say that Trump's voters were in it for, his racist comments. They were in it for his breaking of the norms. I don't think that's exactly accurate. I think a lot of them were in it despite his sort of ugly commentary. A lot of people I know who really support Trump really did not like the way he spoke. They really hated the tweeting. They would say to me over and over again, I wish he would just shut up and govern because he's so good at governing. But I will say, he took an axe to the neoliberal order that was really the law of the land in both parties, right? I mean, it's no secret at this point. The things he did, especially in foreign policy, especially on the economy, was really, he was taking on both parties. And to do that, I think you do need a certain character to say, you know what, I don't care what anybody thinks. The more offensive I am, the better. Actually, I'm going to do something about the border that is unconscionable, that nobody will accept because I think it's really important. And I think that sort of, devil may care attitude. There's a lot that's broken in our nation, and that, it's really a question. I think a lot of people will look at DeSantis and say, is he going to get swallowed up by the swamp once he gets there? He seems so strong. He seems so committed to his values. But does he have that quality to take on both the ruling party of, the ruling class of both parties?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Because he's not as hated, I would say, by the whatever we term as the ruling class of the Republican Party, a class that was humbled and humiliated by Trump. All of those people prefer DeSantis. But DeSantis so far is doing a good job of courting favor and having appeal to kind of all aspects of the Republican Party, even whatever traditional the elements of the Republican Party, if they're still there. Many of them have just left and become Democrats. The never Trump people, the Bush era neocons. Those people are mostly all gone. But to the extent there's opposition somewhat to what Trump represents and what he does in the party, right, they're all getting behind DeSantis. So are some people who really like Trump and think, right, the tweeting got in the way of policies they actually want to see. They're backing DeSantis too. So it's really going to come down to all of them versus the base. If the base, like that person you spoke to, says, we like DeSantis, but if Trump's in it, we're for Trump, then that's all that's going to matter. But I think that remains to be seen, what that split ends up looking like. And obviously we've got long ways to go before we get there. So it will be interesting to see. Well, because it's election week, we are not having radars. We have tons and tons of election coverage to get to, and more rising right after this. Stay with us.